Apologies. Messing with technical devices, attempting to get things centered. Ohoma Takiaisen, we are live now. Trina Christine Mason here. You're gonna have to excuse me while I tie my shoe. It's kind of really bothersome. Okay. Gracias. Oh, welcome home, my family, my brothers, my sisters. So nice to be gathered here with you live now. Take a few moments to just breathe. Attempt to recognize and see how you are feeling, where you are being now. Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you controlling? Are you filled with all this vital energy? Are you fearful? Are you empowered? Are you troubled? What's your story? What are you writing? I'd like to teach you a little magic trick. And some would vision this and decide it's called like a vision board. However, I like to call it the Akashic Records. Some people like to also call it, what's that thing from that TV show? The holodeck. If you feel comfortable, you can grab a piece of paper right now and a pen, and I invite you to sit down and take a moment to find yourself in your breath. Take time to be. I have 2 different games for you to play. The first game is to write everything down that comes to mind. Every feeling, every aspect. Watch how much it changes. Feel free to write down timing and minutes and date it and sign it and give yourself permission to express and be. Yes. You may find that chaos in so many different things expresses itself across the paper. Simply just notice and recognize where you are standing and what is expressing itself, what hasn't been heard after all these years, all these generations. Understand that some things that come to mind might flash like images before your mind and may not always make sense in the conscious mind at the time, but perhaps it makes sense on an epigenetic or family ancestral level. For those who are centered and that are ready for like the absolute exercise, it's to give yourself permission to write. How to verbalize this? Where you are writing yourself from the future. And it is your choice, your destination, your agreement. And we can play a game and put your name first. My name is... and I am living or currently standing or present in this, you could name a state or a country, your story, right? Perhaps you'd like to play. Perhaps you'd like to put yourself in another geographical location. Perhaps you choose to manipulate and make alternations to different vortexes. Perhaps it's your career, or how you sing, how you talk, how you dance. And each individual will be different. Perhaps you are building a story of romance, or perhaps you are through the framework of a crime. I can't help but think of a line of Crimes Against Humanity. Perhaps it's the crime that you're not really being yourself. not giving ourselves permission to breathe. Or to be as we really are, and to wear a mask, or just pretend to be someone we aren't. Perhaps we wear a costume. Like me, a mermaid tail, right? Perhaps it's a smile. Perhaps we are hiding emotions behind our mouths. This can be like frozen within the tongue. There's like astounding magic when you take time to sit with a piece of paper and really, really write things down. Perhaps it's a piece of your history or your family's history. And perhaps these things are now being captured and only saved within electronic devices, when these are meant to be passed down. These dreams, these visions, all these opportunities to come together with one another to share these ideas, like, hey, I need 3 people to dig holes so we can plant seeds and create more trees. Okay, will you please start watering everything? And then how about you make sure the sands or the dirt is really compacted into the seed. And then you're going to watch the land for the next few months and make sure that it gets all the different nutrients. And then this generation, they're all going to just breathe the oxygen that is produced from this plant that expresses and lives beside you, that you have named and planted and taken time to grow and harmonize with this nature. Let me see here. Ahoma Takiaisen. I'm mentioning the game of you giving yourself permission to basically recreate reality. And instead of being like completely lost in fantasy land, which can totally be available to you if it resonates to you, to create worlds with dragons or just like, superpowers, etc. If only you understood the quantum field and really how this whole system like mathematically rocks and orchestrates together. It's like but like it's hard to surrender and play your part. To listen. I'm also hearing the words of a gratitude list, and I know that's like typically cliche, right? You could define it as cliche. But like seriously, like what do you like can't get enough of? Are you in love with the ocean? Are you in love with nature? Are you in love with life? Are you in love with your mother or your parents, or what's your story, right? All these different things. Recognize all these different phrases and frameworks. And again, like what kind of movie are you writing? Are you creating? Are you saying it's a sad movie? Is it a happy movie? Did it start off as a sad movie and now you're changing it to like an angry or interesting movie? Mr. Michael Meza. I have never actually gone to acupuncture school. I am still in need of basically the college basics. I have to like pass a couple math classes, the basics. I think it's like Bachelor in Arts or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to really pay attention to the societal norm of being able to have the, I guess, legal rights to stick needles and work with herbal traditional Chinese medicine. I am still pretty fascinated by multiple arts of that, so I do appreciate that question. And the reminder of the need to continue learning. However, it's kind of like, I guess this also stems back to some other parts that have been coming up in the last 24 hours. And that's the act of doing and beingness, being a true act of divine servitude and devotion. Highlighter, huh? Whether it's a devotional act to the source or if it's, is it selfish? Is it, what's the intention? What's the why? Gotta love animals. And their psychology is so fascinating. Tell me you don't communicate with your dog or your cat. Tell me. Tell me you have a familiar, you have a pet bird, or you have these things that are your friends. Tell me you don't talk to them. It's a matter of studying the behavior. And then again, your intentions. What's the toroidal field? What's the morphogenic field? Or what's the genetic imprint? What's hidden below the surface that can't be seen versus what is true? You know what's funny is you can buy this cat all these different toys, but this is probably still his favorite toy. Isn't it so funny? So simple. Reminds me of humans, how we get so attached to this story of how this thing is pretty, or this has this story or this imprint. When really, again, it's not true. It's like what we painted it as. And again, the framework and the lens that we're looking through at the current time and being. Is it through a lens of beauty and gratitude and appreciation, or are we looking at everything as like dark and confusing and chaotic? Is it an action or inaction? I'm wondering how many people are actually still like writing and playing on a piece of paper right now. Please tell me. Please tell me we're live now. Is there anyone actually writing on a piece of paper? Are you playing the games? Have you released all of your personal thoughts on paper instead of like, you know, denying that perhaps you're both. Perhaps you're saying like, I love this and I also can't stand this. Just notice the thoughts and the true states of being and find yourself there in the middle. Notice how the I am is always changing. And just notice how the story changes once you are in that position, if you're playing also the imaginary game that you are creating your future and that you are such and such years old and you have this pet and this job of creating these things and you chose to come to Earth to do these things, yes. That's like the ultimate win for you. Sometimes it helps to create that story because then you can see the baby steps that it takes to actually get there and see if you actually are willing to put in the work. Alright, I can't squat anymore, dude. I'm dying. Make it drop. Or something. Hold on. I'm trying. Lame sauce. Alright, this is gonna have to work. Sure. I can't ever deal with shoes without thinking, take off your shoes, they make you sick. I think I tied my shoe too tight this time. Yeah. Those are all just stories. Yes. Welcome aboard, Eli. We all need more experiences. Scuba diving, yes, is definitely a magnificent thing. We are alive, so I apologize for like the bouncing around, right? Isn't interesting, the toroidal field that's existing and expressing itself as now. I'm tempted to play along with you. Let's get out my handy dandy tools. So, you know what's interesting is like this is also it's more than just a game. Like, and I feel like people don't really recognize that. But like it can be really dangerous what people are like basically writing into existence. And also, I think the magic of it all is when you actually believe it, right? So if we're all told this story that there's this person in this world and that they did this, this, and this, you know, but what have we witnessed? And the same thing when we actually witness things and we share them with people and people don't believe them or can't identify with them because they haven't had that experience of feeling and being in that presence or in that knowingness of understanding. Which could also be defined as like a sense of unity. Oh my god, like what should we focus on? I feel like I should pick something like totally random. I'm gonna pick something totally random to like speak into my existence to play. And we'll see how much it comes up. And by the way, it does not count if it comes up from artificial intelligence. I'm also gonna throw that out there. So it has to come to you from the universe, from someone else's mouth. It's like in your privacy, on your piece of paper, right? It is really also interesting when multiple people pray and come together in the same way and truly believe, like, good things are coming, or we are doing this together, we are, you know, worth oxygen, etc. I imagined something that I was going to call in. I don't know if I'm going to spell it right, but it's tambourines. Oh, man. How often do you actually have, like, the experience of a tambourine? And not just, like, a tambourine, but, like, a really, really good tambourine. I feel like I've been very blessed and honored with the experience of getting in person, of playing with some of these instruments. And I found some of these instruments to just be so sound healing. And just a lot of times it has to do with like rhythm and being able to find your function, your togetherness, instead of like fighting it, I imagine. And simply noticing where there's resistance, where there's hesitation. Perhaps like you are writing all these other topics, but you're excluding like certain different categories, like such as like what your job is, you know, like what makes you feel fulfilled, like what's your main duty. Like maybe your main duty is to love animals and to help people understand how you can't just like own the animals. Surrender is so difficult for me. Like so difficult. And it can be something as simple as like I'm guided to play the instrument in a new, different way, or to try something new. And a lot of times there can be like a lot of ignorance and stubbornness where I am refusing to surrender to like the will to do something one has not done before. My cat's just insisting on destroying this. Hey, I kind of like these connected. It came this way. Universe is always giving you the option and opportunity for change, and sometimes we have to simply allow the expression and not have attachments to whichever story that we think that things are supposed to's or meant to's or imaginary or fantasy ways that are illusion. Oh man, there's so many other ways of playing this game. Another imagination that came to mind was being able to basically write a historical journey of like who you are, like, right, like your, like everything you could remember basically, and then possibly just writing it normally first, right, just like natural, however it comes natural, the emotion that comes naturally, right, and then like possibly going back and like checking, like, is this like an adventure, is this, or like you know, is this like a horror movie, is this sci-fi? Hey bro, this guy's like, again, he's determined. Hey, how about this string over here? The point I'm getting at is changing the frame. Like, once you notice, like, oh, this whole movie has been told in this like Edgar Allan Poe undertone, right? And then you can like attempt to try to tell it from another point of view, you know, maybe like another character. Like perhaps you have to use someone else's eyes, that you're looking at yourself through the eyes of like your mother. You're looking at yourself through the eyes of this one partner who looked at you a certain way. And it could be coworker or human. And perhaps you've been conditioned and only witnessed many relationships through the online field, and perhaps it's in your best interest to possibly give yourself permission to network and communicate within a society and ask questions and find those who are capable of delivering an answer to some of your questions. Giving yourself permission to speak when it feels called, not being afraid to sound stupid or to not get the answer right away. And understand how the answer can change over time too, you know? Like sometimes we may believe this one thing to be true, and then that part of us no longer exists and transforms into a different person that now believes and lives in a way, in belief and daily thought and attachment to this other topic, which some may define as like addictions. Perhaps you're really addicted to cars, or perhaps you're really addicted to books, or like, I don't know, whatever is like really valuable to you and worth everything to you, like all your time and attention, energy and focus all day, every day. How many of you are thinking about the animals, or the plants, or the oxygen? What kind of category do you find those? Do you consider plants and animals to be your family, your brothers, your sisters too? Or is this like alienation? Or is there just the illusion of the alienation? Imagine if we wrote aliens onto our paper right now, okay? Like, imagine how many people have actually genuinely wished that there was possibly a way of putting out signals. And I like to think at times of all those what ifs. What if thoughts has to be like one of the most entertaining and slightly peaceful ways of processing and being with the mind. And it feels like a very much so lost art, that people forget how to be a kid, how to be lighthearted, and how to have that innocence instead of the pride or the anger, the ignorance, or the taintedness that comes with just simply being human and experiencing life. I imagine there's a simple way, and the most gentlest way that it can be put is, were you grown in a place where you were taught and spoke to yourself in a way that said that you believed in yourself? Or was it the other way around, where you're unworthy, or that there's no purpose or use in your physical body and your ability to think, act, do, and be you, instead of being like everything you see or that is flashed before your mind? Your mind's eye. I'm also called to point out, if you're playing the exercises with the papers, that recognize your intention, you know? Like, are you just writing down jokes? Or is there any level of trueness in it, you know? Are you writing a prayer to God kind of thing, you know? Or are you simply looking for answers within your own narratives and finally taking time to process your own story? Are you recognizing your subconscious mind? Are you writing down things that you'd like to bring in? Or is it the other way around? Things that you've been avoiding, not so much judging as much as witnessing and allowing the self to express, and also possibly once gaining awareness at where one is, possibly being able to, you know, play on the flip side and recognize the other state or framework that one could be looking through that one may not be completely aware and may be blinded to, instead of recognizing truth that is found in that silence of stillness and beingness that can't really be spoken. This brings the inspiration of true love, you know, where is your true attachment? Is God your true love? Is that where your constant focus is? As you're asking, you know, this higher power than you to do all the work for you, or to give you answers, or to, I guess, say thanks. Or is all your love, again, in things that man has made? Perhaps you can answer the question of what has man not made. Perhaps these are harmful questions for you to digest and process at this time. Big question to play with, is it true? And what does it want for me? Really, really working with your thoughts as if your mind truly is a garden, and being able to recognize these habitual responses that may occur, which is why it's great to journal daily, to really, really notice and see where you are. And also noticing your intake, you know, if you're intaking your food or your viewing as certain things, notice how those things may be projected upon you too, and it may not be your will to think of that or see that. Perhaps you are witnessing something, perhaps a television, or maybe you watched a real situation go down in real life. Maybe it was like a fight, or I don't know, source of entertainment. Possibly not entertainment, possibly just something really tragic. Sometimes emotional, right? Maybe there's loving things that you're witnessing. Perhaps people getting married and you cry, or have a cup of tea with someone that you feel really comfortable not speaking around and just being around. For me, in my practice of mindfulness, I've had times where I have almost envied the mind of like creatures, thinking that their lives were possibly easier. which perhaps is a very, very prideful thought of categorizing us as being any smarter or better, or being able to even have that sense of narrative of the whole thing. I guess it's like a thought many men have had, you know, like just noticing how just content the animals are just being in your presence, and they don't really want anything more. Perhaps, yes, you have an animal that has like a thing, like maybe it's really into eating certain things or playing with certain things or getting into certain things or chasing certain things, you know. I'm trying to think of like other ways we can play the game. And I'm not even sure what to call that. It's almost like spelling, because you're like writing things, you know. Oh man, and there's also like a quantum physics thing in there too. If you know, no matter can be created or destroyed. So once you kind of create that, even if you like delete it and like or crumble it up and burn the paper, etc. There's like all this intention and energy and all of this equal and opposite reaction that is counter to the expression, like cause and effect. Imagine if our brains were in like constant play receptive mode, just constantly. Some animals are just totally about that life. Have you ever noticed that? Like there's some animals that, you know, their hips hurt and they're like all upset. But there are some that just like, sometimes you just like, it's like a kid, or like, you know, you just has so much energy, it just never gets tired of its behavior and action and doing this. Raja. Tamas? Tamas, I think. And one more. Sutya? Swata? Oh man. I'm attempting to remember my notes from the class today, and I'm wondering if there's anyone here that actually knows that stuff so I could learn more. I'm so tempted to go grab my notes. This is also the other importance of the psychology of writing things down, just like imprinting things upon your mind. At the same time, you don't want to be processing like all the old debris like forever and ever. I mean, obviously everything that's coming up needs time to really be processed, and it's not for someone else to go over the paperwork as much as up to you to really take in what you're putting down, and then really to put in more of like, you know, what you're trying to put in, or like like kind of like that, how you like get what you put in. Notice that there's like fear and resistance to like what you dream of, or that like you feel like you haven't really thought things through. Like let's say we can go back to the tambourines game. Okay. So let's say we're focusing on tambourines, but we're completely terrified, or feel like we have no need, or we're really repulsing that, all of those. So we're not allowing an intake of receptive mode of receiving tambourines. We're concentrated on a lot, but we're really, really pushing away because we're really not too sure if we choose it. But if we choose, we tend to come instantly in agreement with the things that we are putting input to receive. However, your intentions again can drastically change things. If you are deceiving, you know, putting out false information that is appearing real and creating fear in other, and in you not giving yourself permission to be yourself, the authentic self, and being in this illusionary state, this Maya. Those spells, those curses can be broken, especially with your will, if there is a true desire for you to see that there is a truth of, I want to make things up, like what is a soul, or where do you go from here? What is good? You know, what is not good? All of those games. And notice how sometimes the things that you say, like what is bad now, is actually looked back upon and witnessed and seen and known that, wow, this is just, that was such greatness that came out of that, from going into that deep, dark rabbit hole, right? Or like getting lost in that unknowingness. And tamas, that's what, from my understanding, tamas is. Tamas, I believe. Represents like chaos and darkness. And then the rajas, rajas, is, ooh, come on, it's activity. There's another word. One of them is having, one of them is giving. One of them is in action. And the one with the S is the beingness. Hunting is another part of the brain that really isn't completely acknowledged, I feel like. If you imagine small openings in your hands and really take time to connect and breathing in and out through the center, especially if you can concentrate on individual hands and really tune in and understand, you might be able to feel like all the different generations of expression of like where you either, there's so many different levels, okay? So it can be abusing your power, you know, using your hands to create things that are your will and not really in the will. We could say of divine mind. Or perhaps you underestimate your power. That you don't take action when really there is something important for you to do that no one else would do, but you heard the call, but you did not listen to yourself. Or perhaps that's the illusion that it was not the self, but a part of the self that is known as divine mind. Which is funny, because they also mention divine heart. Oh man, do you understand that there are like, they're almost like robots of people, but they're not people. What do you even call that? A creature. It's not even a creature. It's like an insult to creatures. It's like a cyborg. Like a fake online account that pretends to be a person, that leaves comments and communicates, yet is not a real individual. It's an artificial intelligence. Gathering information, testing. Man, with all these thought process, like imagining how the internet is basically like a big giant sheet of paper, and like we're all doing the same thing. We're all like imprinting into this like virtual reality that is basically becoming a world of its own through its own container and through what the other views and sees it as, a trajectory. Yes, Malcolm. Yes, Malcolm. Hello, Nilam. I'm called to write down a couple different words. Oh my god. A couple contrasts. I feel like there's a third one. One of the words I'm writing down is choiceless awareness. Very, very powerful mantra. Bear with me here as I take time to process and digest. I'm called to also additionally share the importance of practicing and playing with prayers that are only done in privacy. That no one else hears or knows. That it's just clear, it's your private, it's your secret. And in closed doors, it is heard, it is answered instantly. Giving permission for that identity and that truth to express itself. And that it only presents itself as it is chosen and given permission and granted and guided and appropriate. Choiceless awareness. I'm not sure if you've been around to see the aspect of it and then like looking at it. I'm not even sure what to call that. I'd have to like study the double slit experiment so much more. So much more. I'd probably have to read like scientific journals and things like that to try to completely understand this. Unless it'll come through more meditation, more, again, choiceless awareness, or possibly, research in sufficient places. These exercises can be very healing and very, 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 very helpful. Especially if you have a safe space to actually truly journal your process. Some stories are meant to be kept and passed on for generations, even if you think they are dark stories. However, again, the power of being able to reframe and change your story while additionally sharing it's so quantum and so deep. Only you can give permission to write your story, and know that you are doing it regardless whether you're putting it on paper. It's in your head, it's in your heart, it's being sang. You could say the Lord hears it. Your fear of your stink, or should I say your stink of your fear, rises all the way up to heaven and is heard, seen, and known and felt at all times. Oh, bro, don't tease me. I thought about doing some yoga. Yes. I feel you, brother. So many meditations come to mind. It can be overwhelming to go so deep into meditation, to just receive so many santoshas. Just all this contentment that just comes when you can just relax and be yourself and access yourself. And I understand it can be very traumatic, and the resistance can be strong in those who have not yet sit and heard their own song. Sometimes it's not meant to be heard by others as much as just by you. Understanding your beauty, your grace, and what you see in the other is really you. They're all projections. And for you taking time to look at your map of your life that you've designed. How many more years have you chosen to take on from here? If you were recognized an opportunity, if you did something right now today that you would change this and you would be able to elaborate a little bit further, would you give yourself permission to take that action, or would you ignore that call? Would you question the purpose or the benefit, or would you be open to receiving what would remain? Oops. Ha. The scribbles, the symbolism. Again. Man, my brain is so fixated on writing this one thing down on paper. It's inevitable. The word is timeless. I was trying to write timelines and timeless. Is that duality or what? Yeah, there's something magic or just not right or wicked or confusing about like letters and like these unspoken languages, like written in decimals even, and things like that, you know, this shamanic type sickness stuff that is occurring on a global scale. And we can choose to remain ignorant and just focus on our own field. However, it's important that we see our power to play the field and to operate in a network that is in harmony instead of, what's that word? I guess I could replace the word with, like, alarmed. Releasing people from their panic, from their spleen, from their worry or their own mind. Ha! I appreciate you playing along. Word games, ever so fun. They just don't do justification. Yes, the stench of fear all the way to heaven. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. All the brainwashing. Attempt to not always like read the comments and get lost in everyone else's way of like expressing and being. You are entitled to like learn your own way of life and being instead of feeling limited and conditioned to the self that you have exclaimed you are at this time. Bro. Ooh. Lex to Linus comes to mind as well. I could write that down for you. Ha. Just noticed something magical. Is this backwards? It's the law of retribution. It's almost like cause and effect, or like karma, or it all boils down to intention. I wanted to like to make like a joke, but it's like I'm not really certain that I can make it funny. Let's just put it that way, okay? So I was trying to like focus on ideas of where like imaginary lands where like writing things on paper could actually like manifest things into reality, right? And so with that fantasy and illusionary thought, yes, that I am to write down healing from being bit up by bugs, right? Is it not inevitable for me to eventually possibly no longer have this? But I also think of, again, intentions. Like, am I covering my wounds with, you know, essential oils? Or am I using, like, poultices or things to, like, pull out, you know, the venom or whatever experience is happening? And then it's funny, attention and intention, yes, like all of the same vibrations. The best way I could also deliver that final teaching is like through monetary gain. That there are individuals who all they care about is more money. But in order to get more money, their family is no longer here. Things like that, you see. Like, it's like intentions, and then like the way it comes back around. And it may not be the way you really wanted, but it's because you were insisting upon this instead of allowing things to express and be and find thy will, divine mind, divine heart. Oh man. So much compassion I have for those levels of beingness. Because it comes to mind the other contrast, right? If you go back to the bug bites of the intention, perhaps I'm saying I'm wishing for better and healed body. But here I am just digging and scratching and squeezing or just fucking shit up, right? Just that kind of level. There's a gentler way that comes to mind is also, again, the lesson from after today's Muay Thai class, working in the Bhagavad Gita class that I had taken today. And there are 3 different types of actions that they mentioned. One of them actually is inaction. The other is prescribed actions, and the other is prohibited. Yeah, I'm probably definitely going to have to review my notes in the morning. I'm trying to like reference everything that I wrote down from memory. I'm going to have to review my notes and possibly transfer the notes from the loose leaf into an actual book that is composited and able to be accessed for references. So I thought of sharing those, and then there's one more thing that has been coming to mind a lot in these meditations, and it's kind of like a painful and really like dumb thought, you could say, truthfully. What is dumb, right? The idea was, and please excuse me, okay? Like, mad vibes of Jesus is the reason for the season, okay? But still, can we still get an amen about this idea, okay? Please pay attention to this idea. We have these Christmas trees, these pine trees that we have like sacrificed and chopped down and choose to kill. Not only do we kill them, but we feed them water every single day. Every single day. Right? That's what you're supposed to do. You get the Christmas tree, you change the water every day. It's a sacrifice. You're going to kill this tree. You're consciously killing this tree. Yeah, I'm going to pay to support the cutting these trees. These trees, they're going to just be, if not, they are only made so that I may kill them and use them at this time. Like, it feels like there's like all this psychology and all these like other things that are put into it. And perhaps I'm looking too much into this like pine tree or Christmas tree, whatever it is, right? For being my brother and my sister, right? For like really being, if we are basing it on, I guess, evolutionary biology, ATCG, that's all I can really hear and process sometimes, is just like this deep thought upon this idea of really understanding our power to, you could say, heal the earth or hurt the earth, right? Are we watering and nurturing and bringing nutrients? Or again, are we sacrificing all these trees? Like, what are we doing? Are we sacrificing ourselves? Are we like hurting ourselves a little bit? And because we hurt ourselves so much that perhaps mom doesn't suffer as bad? Or what are these like subconscious, subtle imprint agreements or levels? You know, imagine all the things that you went through that because you went through, your kid won't have to go through because you learned these lessons at a very young age, how to deal with anger there's so many different levels. And each person is so like lucky and special and just pure magic. If they could just understand and take time to like process their name. Perhaps we could go back and play the game where you're playing with the piece of paper and then you replace every time that your name is written. Research what your name means in another language or just like in your language or whatever, okay? Like, what does it actually mean? What does it mean? Oh man, my ears are so sensitive. I like can't wear anything. Can't wear anything without just dealing with extreme bodily rejection to certain chemicals or something, man. Quite irritating. But where did this whole idea of us piercing our ears come from anyway? Where do we get that idea? Ever notice that it's on the heart meridian on acupuncture? Isn't that weird? Huh. I just like to play Don't Listen to Me. Make fun of me all you want, right? Or just like backtrace me. Yes, dude. The Akashic Records. That is the Akashic Records. That every single moment, starting from scratch is very, very difficult. If there is a being who is like at a blank slate of knowing nothingness and we have to start at scratch, seed number one I go to usually is Edgar Casey. But if you ain't ready for Edgar Casey, then you ain't ready for like anything else that follows underneath all of these different realms. And truthfully, I'm at the tip of the iceberg of this gentleman. I think I have like one book connected to this individual. Found one. Still peeking. two. There's two. One of them I have received for the intention because it mentioned like biblical references and also minerals, like that are simultaneously mentioned in scripture and mentioned through these diagnostics, I guess you can say, from this medical intuitive. It's so much deeper than that, though. His story is quite profound. Quite profound. And then again, can we believe these stories? Will we grant permission for us to witness and see these realities to be true instead of thinking that they only belong in books? I apologize. The Christmas tree thing just like it just kind of just hit me suddenly, you know, and it kind of just really, really hurt my feelings. Like, I don't know, again, I might be too sensitive, but I started thinking about this and I was like, wait a minute, something just isn't right about this. I don't know how I feel about this anymore. And then, like, another thing that came to mind, excuse me, but, like, in this time of the sun or of the year, there are all these, like, traditional, you could define them as sacrifices, right? People are sacrificing their time to do prayer. They're sacrificing themselves, not giving themselves permission to eat food. Or maybe they're sacrificing their wages of what they have made to pay for someone else because they feel like they owe them something. They have to speak with an action of devotion or to have a separation with what they have received that they had to give back equally as they had received. which if the laws of karma are correct and true and a possible reality, then also imagining consciously harming the tree and then recognizing that you are the tree, slowly depriving your own oxygen too, or your own water, or it's the equal energetic exchange. It's equal and opposite. My cat is in super hunter mode. This boiled back to also the humans that do hunting, and it's not just hunting of like hurting animals or chopping down things and eating them from the forest, as much as also on a nicer level, hunting wisdom. Some people hunt just to create a story, just for the story of it. Predatory. It's like it's predatory versus like victim mentality, basically. Or creator versus destroyer. Hunter versus gatherer. It's very messy. But it's like basically how like generations of people are hardwired in certain ways, that their family for generations have been maybe making vodka and drinking vodka, or maybe they are constantly involved with growing their food and then eating what they grow, or maybe raising animals very lovingly and kindly and then using it when it's a time of extreme hunger or time of need or time that is appropriate. I'm not really certain how all these things really work. Again, these are just meditations that I find joy in actually filling my mind with. Other times there are great hungers and needs for just complete silence, and other times the silence can only come once all the questions have been asked. This brings me back to also the memory of many times where we are taught that one thing means something, and then we learn that that was just a deception and a lie, that really that is not true. I like to use the food pyramid as one pretty often, right? Like we were taught a long time ago that we're supposed to eat more bread than anything, and now we know that that's not true. Yet with our food being so polluted and like nearly Frankenstein and not really put with the love and the intention, there's not like a lot of us, growing our own food, putting our own effort into our own care. Sometimes there's opposites too, though, of like people who have sacred recipes and things like that in their families, and they share those medicines that have been curing to the soul for like lifetimes, that have been known amongst all the folks. Perhaps we can say a prayer for those moments of sadness that we have for the other, and pray for their betterment, for their vision, for their ability to listen better, to listen to the call from within, to allow what really serves them, their bliss, instead of conditions and stories, and also attachments, finding that supreme balance amongst all the things. Covered in cat hair. He's happy. Excuse me while I BRB. Gracias for the 11 thumbs up. I see you. Thank you. Yes, 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 Keith, dude, yes. God, no patience. Can't even go to the bathroom. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm just now seeing all these comments. So much love. Jesus Christ and UFOs. Yes. Bro. Keep writing. I'm sorry to distract you with my bug bites. Yes, 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 yes. Bro. Nice. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that crack? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude. You ever, like, struggle so hard to, like, listen to your body? Like, every part of your body says, like, dude, I gotta do this. Or, like, You know, that ego, body, mind stuff, and really being able to like watch yourself. Oh man. Sometimes there's the parts where you're like completely asleep and that you're not like really paying attention to the fact that, you know, you're drifting away from who you wish you were, or like what your goal is on the map, right? And then man, my biggest struggle, truthfully, super embarrassing confession, right? Is like sometimes struggling to just be and do as you naturally would, you know, to like kind of like feel that feeling like you can't, or that it's like it's not right, or it's awkward, it's too weird, it's too much to like completely like be yourself. And it can be something as simple as like we could play and say like, let's say I want to pick my nose so bad right now, but like everybody's watching, they're gonna think I'm gross. Or like who knows what's the thing you want to do, you understand? And it's like, hey, stop that, don't, hey, what are you doing? You know? And like I feel like when that hush is on you and it's telling you not to do that, I think it's like almost vital for you to like step through and really like be yourself. And sometimes I believe that it takes that pressure for you to like find who you are, to be like, yeah, that's right, yeah, you know? Everyone has like their own thing, and many times I can only express from like my level of like being able to understand and know. And truthfully, I don't feel like I really know anything, and I feel like everything can be so haphazard. I wonder what it means like when the cat is like rattling its tail on the ground, like the ground's a drum, makes noises. Is it saying something? Does it always mean that it's aggro, that it's like angry? It's like aggressive? Is their behavioral language identical to our behavioral language? Oof. I would love to study the body enough to know like every single muscle and bone to really, truly, truly, truly understand. Yeah, did you hear that? Oh my god. Ugh. It feels like yoga sometimes like puts my bones and my body back into alignment. I'm not certain how true that is, but it feels that way sometimes. It feels like I just cured myself. And sometimes one of the main sicknesses is that not taking in enough oxygen, or not exhaling equally. Or sometimes if you're holding your breath, or you're not really letting your breath express naturally, like if you're like, you know, and you're not letting yourself, that fire breath. Many, many different ways of expressing and channeling that breath. And perhaps you have more of an ujjayi, like perhaps there's tension, you can't breathe in all the way. Or maybe other way, you can't breathe out all the way. Because it hurts. Noticing where there's tension. Bringing in fresh oxygen into those tension areas. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you dang George. I'm gonna have to equalize the other side. Oh, dude. Yeah. I apologize if you're like OCD. You're like struggling. I wish I could like assist better, but you might be as well. Oh, it's just not working. I'm trying to show how the leg is like positioned. I don't know what this is called. I like to kind of collapse over the front half. I may have to study yoga a bit more to try to figure out how to get better access into that area. It may also be beneficial to potentially practice splits. So much pain. Trying to just be on the edge. Breathe through it. Typically just listening to my body will help me get like completely back to my personal center. I'm grateful for the time you have spent with me. Oh my God, Keith, I love that quote. The more you learn, the less you realize you knew. Yeah, dude. Oh my God, yeah, super ouch, right? Trying to focus and read this tiny screen. Yes, yes, yes. Very beautiful. Massage with prayer sounds so great. Yes, yes, yes. People forget the ancient art of like touch and healing and really the ability to connect to their bodies. There's so many different professional aspects of working with your body, mind, and spirit. It's quite a shame how much we forget our interconnectedness. Bro. It's actually seashells. How about that ASMR? Natural. Cowabunga. Yeah. She's a beaut. Oho Matakiyasen. That beauty. I was meditating, yes, yes, yes. This is Priscilla. She needs a tuning. See what we can do with her where she's at. So my voice will be the music of the chords. Again, bear with me as I find her. That super needs a tuning. Some harp lessons would probably help too. Wouldn't that be cool? I'm sure it's been done. Oh, Priscilla. Ahoj, men tack guys. Yes, yes, yes. Many blessings. Good evening. Ahoj.